My twins need a mutt like you.
You mean it?
She arrived at the station hoping for a new life. But the door closed in her face. Just when she thought everything was over, a cowboy whispered something that changed her destiny forever. The night wind moved slowly through the empty train station. Old lights flickered above the cracked floor. A tired girl stood near the last wooden bench. Her name was Ilara. Her coat was thin, and her hands were cold, but the cold was not what hurt her heart. Only 1 hour ago, she believed she had a family waiting for her. Now she had nothing. Ilara looked down at the small suitcase beside her feet. Inside it were a few clothes, an old photo, and a letter she could not stop reading. The letter had come from a family in the western town of Red Hollow. They promised her a home. They promised her work. They promised she would finally belong somewhere. But when she arrived, the door closed in her face. The woman of the house looked at her with hard eyes.
"You are not what we expected."
Those words still echoed inside her mind. Ilara tried to ask what she had done wrong. She tried to explain she had traveled 2 days by train just to reach them. But the door closed before she could finish speaking. So she walked back to the station. Now she stood alone under the weak yellow lights. The last train had already left. The next train would not arrive until morning. She had nowhere to go. Ilara sat slowly on the bench. Her eyes burned with tears, but she refused to cry. She had promised herself long ago that she would never beg the world for kindness again. Yet the silence of the station felt heavy. Footsteps echoed somewhere behind her. Slow, heavy footsteps. Ilara lifted her head. A tall man walked through the station entrance. His boots struck the floor with steady rhythm. A long brown coat rested over his shoulders. A worn cowboy hat shaded his face. He looked like a man who belonged to the wide desert rather than a lonely train station. The man stopped near the ticket window. For a moment he seemed to study the empty hall. Then his eyes turned toward Ilara. Their eyes met. Ilara quickly looked away. Strangers had never brought her good fortune. The man walked closer. Each step felt calm and confident. When he reached the bench, he stopped a few feet away. Ilara could feel his presence like a quiet storm. Late night to be waiting alone. His voice was deep but gentle. Ilara did not answer at first. Then she said softly, "The train left." The man nodded. "I figured." He glanced at her small suitcase.
"Traveling far?"
"Not anymore." The man studied her face for a moment. His expression changed slightly, as if he understood more than she had said. "My name is Rowan Hale." Ilara hesitated. "Ilara." For a short moment, neither of them spoke. Outside, the wind moved across the dark street. Somewhere far away, a dog barked. Rowan leaned against the wooden pillar beside the bench. "Someone was supposed to meet you." It was not a question. Ilara swallowed. "Yes?" "They did not show." Ilara shook her head slowly. Rowan remained silent. He did not offer pity. He did not ask for explanation. That strange respect made Ilara feel safer than any comforting words. Then something unexpected happened. A small voice echoed from the station doorway. "Daddy!" Another voice followed. "Daddy, where are you?" Ilara looked up. 2 little girls ran into the station. Both had messy brown hair and bright, curious eyes. They could not have been older than 5 years. They rushed straight toward Rowan. "Daddy, we woke up." "Grandpa said you were here." Rowan knelt down and opened his arms. The twins ran into him and hugged him tightly. Ilara watched quietly. For the first time that night, warmth touched her heart. The cowboy was not alone in the world. Rowan lifted the girls and placed one on each side of him. "You two were supposed to stay asleep." "We tried." "Lila kicked me." "I did not." Rowan laughed softly. The sound was deep and honest. Then his eyes moved back toward Ilara. The twins followed his gaze. Both girls stared at the lonely woman sitting on the bench. Children often notice sadness faster than adults. The girl named Mira whispered, "Daddy, she looks lonely." Ilara felt embarrassed and looked down again, but the other twin Sina stepped forward bravely. "Hello." Ilara blinked in surprise. "Hello." Sina tilted her head. "Why are you here?" Ilara hesitated. "I'm waiting for morning." The twins looked confused. Rowan watched quietly. Then he spoke in a calm voice. "Girls, go wait by the door." The twins obeyed but kept watching Ilara with curious eyes. Rowan stepped closer to the bench. For a moment he seemed to think carefully. Then he leaned slightly toward her and spoke words that would change everything. "My twins need a mother like you." Ilara froze. The sentence felt unreal. She slowly lifted her head. Rowan was not smiling. He was serious. Ilara stared at him with disbelief. "You do not even know me." Rowan looked toward his daughters. "Sometimes you do not need long to know what kind of heart a person carries." Ilara felt her chest tighten. No one had ever spoken to her that way before. But the offer was impossible. She shook her head. "You should not say things like that to strangers." Rowan straightened. "I do not say things I do not mean." Silence filled the station again. Outside, the wind grew stronger. Ilara looked at the twins standing near the doorway. They were whispering to each other while watching her. For a strange moment, she imagined what it would feel like to belong somewhere like that. Then fear returned. Life had taught her not to trust sudden miracles. "You should go home." Rowan studied her expression. "Where will you go?" Ilara had no answer. That was the truth she feared most. Rowan placed his hat back on his head. "Come meet them." Ilara hesitated, but something gentle in his voice made it impossible to refuse. She slowly stood up. The twins watched with wide smiles as Ilara walked toward them. Rowan spoke quietly behind her. "Just talk to them." Ilara knelt slightly to meet the girls. "Hello again." Mira grinned. "You look nicer up close." Sina nodded seriously. "Daddy likes you." Ilara looked back toward Rowan with surprise. Rowan simply folded his arms and waited. The twins stepped closer. "Do you like horses?" Ilara laughed softly. "Yes."
Daddy has many.
3, 4, maybe 5. Their excited voices filled the empty station. For the first time that night, Ilara forgot her sadness. Rowan watched the scene quietly. Something in his eyes softened. Because sometimes the heart recognizes what the mind still fears. And Rowan Hale had already made a decision. But Ilara had no idea that the hardest part of her journey was only beginning. The wind outside the station pushed dust across the empty road. Inside the quiet hall, the twins continued talking to Ilara as if they had known her for years. Children often trust the heart before the mind begins to doubt. Mira stepped closer and looked up at Ilara with bright eyes. "Do you live here?" Ilara shook her head slowly. "No." Sina asked another question. "Then where is your home?" The question struck deeper than the child understood. Ilara paused for a moment before answering. "I'm still looking for it." The twins looked confused by the answer, but they did not push further. Rowan stood a few steps away, watching the quiet conversation. He noticed the way Ilara listened to the girls with patience. He noticed how the sadness in her face softened when the children smiled. That told him more about her than words ever could. After a moment, Rowan stepped closer. "Girls, it is late." The twins turned toward him. "But we are not sleepy." Rowan gave them a calm look. "You will be tomorrow morning." The girls laughed quietly. Then Mira looked back at Ilara. "Are you coming with us?" Ilara froze slightly. The innocence in the question made the situation feel real again. Rowan spoke before she could answer. "She might." The twins smiled with excitement. "Good. Our house is big, and Grandpa makes sweetbread." Ilara felt warmth and fear at the same time. The offer sounded kind, but life had taught her that kindness often came with hidden conditions. Rowan seemed to understand the storm inside her mind. "You do not need to decide tonight." Ilara looked at him. "Then why ask?" Rowan answered calmly. "Because my daughters deserve someone who sees them, not someone who tolerates them." Ilara felt those words deeply. She had grown up in houses where she was only tolerated. Never welcomed, never truly wanted. She looked again at the twins. The girls had already started a quiet game with an old coin on the floor. Their laughter echoed softly through the station. Rowan spoke again. "Their mother passed away 3 years ago." His voice was steady, but the pain behind it was real. Ilara did not know what to say, so she listened. "I tried to raise them alone. I thought strength meant doing everything myself." He looked at the girls. "But children need more than strength. They need warmth." Ilara felt something inside her chest shift. She understood those words more than he realized. Rowan continued, "My father helps. The ranch hands help, but they are not what the girls truly need." He paused for a moment. They need someone who will love them. The station lights flickered again. Outside the night deepened. Ilara folded her arms slightly. "You barely know me." Rowan nodded. "That is true. Then why trust me?" Rowan thought for a moment before answering. "Because people who carry kindness in their heart cannot hide it well." Ilara looked away. Compliments made her uncomfortable. The twins suddenly ran back toward them. "Daddy, can she come?" Rowan looked at Ilara. "That depends on her." Mira grabbed Ilara's hand gently. "Please come." Sienna added another quiet sentence. "You do not look like someone who should be alone." Those simple words broke something inside. "Ilara," she quickly turned her face slightly so the children would not see the tears forming in her eyes. Rowan noticed. He did not speak. Sometimes silence is the most respectful form of understanding. After a long moment, Ilara took a slow breath. "What would happen if I said yes?" Rowan answered honestly. "You would come to the ranch. You would stay as long as you wish. If you decide it is not the place for you, then I will drive you anywhere you want to go." Ilara studied his face carefully. She searched for signs of deception but found none. His eyes were steady. His posture was calm. This man did not look like someone who played games with people's lives. Still, the decision felt enormous. Ilara had spent years surviving disappointment. Trust was a door she rarely opened. The twins waited patiently. Rowan waited quietly. Finally, Ilara spoke. "Just for tonight." The twins cheered softly. Rowan nodded once. "That is enough." The group walked toward the station exit together. Outside, the air felt colder, but the sky was clear with bright stars scattered across the darkness. A black truck waited near the road. The twins climbed into the back seat happily. Rowan opened the passenger door for Ilara. She hesitated for one last moment. This step felt like walking into a new life. Rowan noticed the hesitation. "You can still change your mind." Ilara slowly sat inside the truck. "No, I think I have already made the step." Rowan closed the door gently and walked around to the driver's side. The engine started with a deep rumble. As the truck began moving down the quiet road, Ilara looked out the window at the dark. Fields passing by. The station lights slowly disappeared behind them. For the first time in years, she was traveling somewhere without knowing exactly what waited at the end. But strangely, she did not feel afraid. Because sometimes fate arrives not with thunder, but with quiet. Footsteps in an empty station. And Ilara had just stepped into the beginning of a story she never expected. The road stretched across wide fields under the silent stars. The truck headlights cut through the darkness as Rowan drove steadily toward the ranch. Inside the truck, the twins slowly grew sleepy. Mira leaned against her sister. Sena rested her head against the window. Within minutes, both girls were asleep. Ilara watched them quietly. They trusted the world in a way she had forgotten how to do. Rowan noticed her looking back. "They fall asleep fast." Ilara smiled softly. "That means they feel safe." Rowan nodded slightly. "That is something I try to protect every day." The truck continued down a long dirt road. Soon a wooden gate appeared ahead. Rowan stepped out to open it, then drove through. Beyond the gate, a large ranch spread across the open land. Several barns stood near. A long wooden house with warm yellow lights glowing through the windows. Ilara felt surprised. This place was far bigger than she imagined. Rowan parked the truck near the house. He carefully lifted one sleeping twin into his arms. Ilara instinctively lifted the other child. The small girl rested peacefully against her shoulder, as if she had known Ilara forever. Rowan noticed that moment. Something about it felt right. They walked inside the house quietly. An older man sat at the kitchen table reading a newspaper. His silver hair and strong posture showed the years of hard ranch life. He looked up. "You found them?" Rowan nodded. "Yes." The old man's eyes moved toward Ilara. "And who might this be?" Rowan answered calmly. "Her name is Ilara." The man folded his newspaper slowly. "Welcome." His voice carried both curiosity and caution. Rowan led the girls to their room. Ilara gently placed Sena in the small bed beside her sister. The room walls were covered with simple drawings of horses and mountains. Children dreams painted in bright colors. Ilara pulled the blanket over the girls. For a moment, she simply stood there, watching them breathe peacefully. Then she stepped back into the hallway where Rowan waited. "Thank you for helping." Ilara nodded. "They are wonderful children." Rowan leaned slightly against the wall. "They think you are wonderful too." Ilara looked uncomfortable hearing that. "I'm just a stranger." Rowan gave a quiet reply. "Maybe not for long." They walked back to the kitchen, where the older man still waited. Rowan spoke. "Father, this is Ilara." The old man studied her carefully. "I am Gideon Hale." Ilara shook his hand politely. "Nice to meet you." Gideon looked toward Rowan. "Where did you find her?" Rowan answered simply. "At the station." Gideon raised one eyebrow but said nothing more. Instead, he poured a cup of warm tea and placed it on the table for Ilara. "You look tired." Ilara sat slowly. "Thank you." The warm cup in her hands felt comforting. For a moment, the three adults sat in quiet silence. Then Gideon spoke again. "Are you planning to stay long?" Ilara looked toward Rowan before answering. "Just tonight." Rowan said nothing, but Gideon noticed the look in his son's eyes. The old rancher had lived long enough to understand. When fate was walking through the door, he leaned back slightly. "Well, this ranch has always had room for good people." Ilara lowered her eyes modestly. "I hope I am one of them." Gideon gave a calm answer. Time usually tells the truth. The house grew quiet as the night deepened. Outside, the horses shifted in the barn. Inside the ranch, a new chapter of life had quietly begun. But none of them yet knew that the coming days would test trust, courage, and love in ways none of them expected. And the biggest surprise of all was still waiting just beyond the horizon. Morning sunlight slowly touched the ranch fields. Golden light spread across the grass as the first birds began to sing. Ilara woke gently in the small guest room. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then the memory of the night returned. The station, the cowboy, the twins. She sat up slowly. Through the window, she could see the wide-open ranch stretching toward the hills. Horses moved across the pasture like quiet shadows in the early light. A soft knock touched the door. "Come in!" The door opened and Mira peeked inside. "You are awake," Ilara smiled. "Yes." Sina appeared behind her sister. "Grandpa made breakfast. And Daddy says you should see the horses." Ilara stood and followed them into the hallway. The smell of fresh bread and coffee filled the house. Downstairs, Rowan stood near the table, speaking with Gideon. When he saw Ilara, his expression softened slightly. "Good morning. Good morning." The twins rushed to the table. "Eat fast. We want to show her the barn." Gideon chuckled quietly. "Slow down, little tornadoes." Breakfast began with laughter and simple conversation. Ilara noticed something unusual. No one here treated her like a burden. They spoke to her as if she had always belonged at the table. After the meal, Rowan led everyone outside. The morning air felt fresh and bright. The barn doors opened wide, revealing several beautiful horses. Ilara's eyes widened. "They are beautiful." Rowan nodded. "They are family here." One gentle brown horse stepped forward. "This one is Stormlight." Ilara slowly reached out her hand. The horse lowered its head calmly. Rowan watched with interest. Most horses take time to trust strangers. "Stormlight seems to like you already," Ilara smiled. "Maybe he feels safe." Rowan looked thoughtful. That word again. Safe. It was the same quiet strength he had sensed in her at the station. Nearby, the twins ran around laughing. For the first time in years, Ilara felt something strange inside her heart. Peace. But peace is often the calm before life asks its hardest questions. And soon a moment would come that would force Ilara to decide whether this ranch was only a temporary stop, or the home she had been searching for all her life. The morning sun rose higher above. The hills and light spread across the ranch fields. Horses moved slowly across the pasture while a warm wind brushed through the tall grass. The twins ran around the barn with endless energy, while Rowan finished checking the saddles. Ilara stood near the fence watching everything quietly. The peaceful life of the ranch felt very different from the world she had known before. No crowded streets, no cold waiting rooms, no doors closing in her face. Only open sky and honest work. Rowan walked toward her holding 2 metal cups of fresh water. He handed one to her. "You look like you are thinking deeply." Ilara smiled softly. I'm trying to understand how one night can change everything. Rowan leaned against the wooden fence. Life does that sometimes. Ilara looked toward the hills. I never planned to come here, Rowan answered calmly. Neither did I plan to stop at the station last night. Their eyes met for a moment. Both understood that chance had brought them together, but something stronger was quietly keeping them there. Suddenly the twins ran toward them. Daddy, look. Mira held a small baby rabbit in her hands. It was hiding near the hay. Sina spoke proudly. We rescued it. Rowan knelt slightly. Careful with it. Ilara bent down beside the girls. The rabbit looked scared but calm. Animals can feel gentle hands. The twins listened carefully as Ilara showed them how to hold the small creature safely. Rowan watched the moment with quiet interest. The way Ilara spoke to the girls was soft and patient. The way the girls listened showed trust. Gideon walked out from the house carrying a small wooden box. He stopped beside Rowan. She fits here. Rowan kept his eyes on Ilara and the twins. Yes, Gideon.